Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar about accounts payable automation. During today, I'll have the pleasure of showing this Steltix product, and that will help you to integrate electronically supplier invoices into your JD AdWords system. Okay. Before we start, I would like to do just to tell everyone that the duration is approximately 60 minutes of today. I would like you to raise your hand if that's possible, so I can confirm that your audio is clear to you, that you can see my screen. So can you please? Okay, I can see a lot of hands, so that's a good sign, I guess. Thank you. We want to promote interaction between attendees and ourselves. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please address them on the chat box. At the end of the session, we'll save 5-10 minutes to discuss any queries you may have. Okay? Enjoy. Okay, so first of all, to introduce myself, this is me without beard and long hair. My name is Nelson. I'm based in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm a managing consultant here, and I'm the product owner of APA. From those that are not familiar to Steltix, we are a consultancy company, experts in ERP, mainly JD AdWords. We are almost present in all Europe countries, as you can see on the left. In total, we are more than 160 consultants, and we provide services such as implementations of ERP, upgrades, rollouts. We do maintain Steltix products like the one we are seeing today, and we provide support services 24/7 via help desk. We have functional, technical resources, as well automated monitorization to your infrastructure. So this is the kind of services we do provide. We also have content in our website regarding products that we own and maintain and throughout our install base. Let us know if you have any queries about them. And again, today the focus will be on the APA. I will present to you the newest release, 4.2.5. And I'm sure that if you are here today, you saw some of the other products that are available in the market. And I would like to present to you APA as a long-term solution. Hopefully it's clear to you why. So many of the products we see for our competitors as well, they always rely on an OCR system. That involves licensing or additional people that you have to have in-house or hire to maintain the service and improve OCR capabilities. Well, we don't need that. We opt to work with OCR as a service. Today, there's plenty of companies out there, and we've been partnering with GoTBL. So they basically monitor they have specific mailbox or other ways to get the invoices from your suppliers, and they do the OCR for you. Okay, so they are really experts in this area. So this is how we recommend. They provide multi-language support, so you can imagine that instantly you can define in scope multiple countries, multiple different languages within your company. And their automation is almost immediately available. So once we send the supplier invoices, within an hour or so, you have the translated information on an XML. So there is no implementation period of an OCR tool or whatsoever. And the best of APA is that if you are a JD AdWords customer, is that it's a 100% embedded solution. Okay. By coping with not only GoToBL but any other service, we developed a solution that copes with UBL. For the ones that are not familiar to UBL, it's Universal Business Language, and is the format adopted for e-invoicing procedures defined worldwide. So I've included here on this slide the roadmap. So most of the products you see still today will rely on OCR, which is a technology that is around since the 90s. And we are ahead with APA, so we can work with any OCR as a service or any OCR tool that provides XML. We can map it. And we can also work with e-invoicing. So if your supplier has already adopted e-invoicing standards, we can already process them, okay? And we want also to include APA within the Payable network that will increase and make it even more efficient, any communication between business to business or business to government, okay? And our aim is to achieve total electronic integration. We believe that with today's technology we offer you, we can cover all these steps already. So that's why I mentioned again, it's a long-term solution, okay? So before we see APA, just to put everyone on the same page, we all know that the accounts payable module in JD Edwards is not the best. The standard does not cope with many of the requirements, and we also experience that at Steltix while we do projects, especially the AP departments, companies still print and stamp every invoice. They prep and sort everything manually, causing delays, as I will show here. Especially if they only adopt the standard functionality, the companies will rely entirely on manually entry transactions, which can cause that entry is not done on due time, or often the invoice relies on the table for longer than expected. Right? Every check against the purchase order, if you use procurement module as well, is done manually. There is no such thing as approval workflow in standard JD Edwards regarding AP module, so you don't have that much control. We often see that the approvals are done in Outlook, basic email to your manager, so totally outside JD Edwards. And all these struggles result in payments then overdue to the supplier, potentially with interests. And also on the finance side, you don't have an updated AP position, so your balance sheet will not reflect your current position, at least accurately, right? So we developed APA to help you with all these struggles. How can APA help you? So first of all, we store the PDFs, the invoices in JD Edwards database. We offer together with APA a document repository which will allow you to relate the PDF attachment as well the e-invoicing XML to the transaction, improving visibility, and you will have an embedded document repository in JD Edwards. We offer you accurate and automatic invoices in APA automatically just by one click. During today, we'll see UMapper on how we can translate information from an XML to JD Edwards language, or how we can enhance that information. So we believe we have the most accurate tool in the market. We offer you as well approval workflow. I will explain in detail what kind of workflow we can adopt with APA. And all of these only in one application. So you don't have to navigate through all the menus that JD Edwards offer you every day. With APA, you can do all in one screen. This, of course, to achieve daily updated and reliable AP position. So this is the first feeling you might get, this is a print screen of APA. So together with the tool, this is while we are editing a transaction, you can always check the PDF output. So no need for having the physical paper together with you. It will always follow the transaction. We want you to go electronic. For you, this might be a big change, but we want to integrate invoice vouchers automatically for you. So this having a flexible and configurable XML mapping tool, Hopper, approval workflow, and document repository option, but we can also cope with the document repository software that you might have already on premises. Okay? So how this all works. The solution is, okay, we have plenty of ways to receive invoices from our suppliers. It could be by letter, by email, by just on hand, right? So we can scan and turn into a PDF quite easily these days. And what we present as a solution is that we involve the third party here. So GoToBL OCR as a service. They can collect all the invoices either by secured FTP, email, or even they offer possibilities so we can drop the attachments on their website and we get automatically the files back either by email or FTP, like I mentioned before. From there, everything is taken care of in JD Edwards. And this is where we see the first tool on the process, which is a Steltix UMapper. It's called UMapper to state that you can actually do the mapping. Okay, we want the users to be comfortable with the tool and do the mapping of an XML to JD Edwards transactions. We'll see how ahead. And then from there, all in one step, you'll have the record waiting for you in APA, which can cope with logged vouchers, standard cost vouchers, two-way voucher match, or three-way voucher match. Basically what the standard offers to you. So the first step is how to import invoices. The import invoices part can be done on the scheduler, it's done via batch or via the application. So we offer you three possibilities to have this. During the import, the auto match, so the JD Edwards will try to find the supplier, the company, the purchase order, and so forth. Also, while doing this mapping, it also validates if the record is valid. So it will present to you any errors, warnings, or if it was successful, all in one screen. From there, you can process the records, okay? By process, it means that you will integrate the transactions in your AP module, affecting your GL at this point. So we have some scenarios like voucher match creation, cost voucher, log vouchers. And at this point, if you have workflow enabled, the records will be posted with the hold pay status, so preventing you to do the payment run. Okay, but at this point you already have your balance sheet updated position, so your AP trade account will be reflecting exactly the amount that was issued against you. The VAT is also registered, so all in one step. That can be achieved in all one step. Process will not occur, first of all, if it's not triggered by the user, and of course, if there's errors. If the order was already closed, the one that you are matching against, if the supplier has any information missing, if the transaction is not balanced, if the VAT does not match the percentage that was presented on the invoice. So all these checks are done and presented to the user before processing. Once you process, it will trigger then the approval routing. Okay, so you can have multiple ways of approving, multiple approvers as well. All the interactions between user and approver are registered in the system, so we have auditing, traceability, and control. And hopefully, after the approval is done, and the approver signs off the voucher, you can have finally the voucher in time for payment. Okay. I'll switch quickly to JD Edwards. I think that's way more interesting than just showing PowerPoints. Okay, so I just signed into the portfolio environment in Steltix. This is where we maintain our products. And here you can see one E1 page that we just created for the demo itself. We present to you many of the interactions that you can import EVL to APA. This is just to show you the flow of the process. You have here APA Workbench. That is the one application where we can do all in one application. This can be triggered inside APA. We can process invoices as well separately, but it can be done on APA Workbench. And we have some inquiry screens, standard ones. In the end, we want to cope with the standard as much as possible, not to have an invasive software in your system. Okay? Also, we have here UMapper that we will see, some watch lists that you might be familiar how to configure. And also, we are working on and getting more and more experienced on creating some graphics for you. So that will show the matching routines that we have, voucher matches, cost voucher. So just to get some kind of statistics for you as a user. Okay. So I'll enter now the APA Workbench. Okay. So this is where, so I got the invoice from the supplier. It was sent to GoToVL or other provider, or if it is already an e-invoicing record, we can have it automatically here on APA. So it can be done by a scheduler, or I can use the import option, right? Again, in this application, we can do most of the interaction with the APA. I will just import a record. As you can see, there is a batch running in the background. And imagine that you have a FTP folder, records will be there and awaited to be processed. So we have a record now, okay? I just uploaded a Steltix invoice. Well, doesn't mean anything. I hope that Steltix invoices don't get errors to you, but I wanted to generate some errors so we can see how we can operate with it, okay? Before that, here we can navigate. This is the application where we can filter voucher matches, cost vouchers, so you can check for the ones that you want to filter. You can also filter based on status, the ones that were processed, unprocessed, okay? This is an inquiry screen. All these filters can be applied. You can also filter based on due date. And we included lots, and we are constantly increasing the amount of information that is provided to you on APA Workbench. So in here, we have the process routine. So basically, what will result from this transaction? This is automatically determined by the system. Of course, depending on some setup that we do during the implementation. But also, I think it's quite important to say that any transaction that will result from APA is linking into your current setup at the moment. So if you have a standard AP module available for you, we can, by implementing APA, we just link APA to your current setup. So there's no need to rework all the next numbering setup or errors on the master business functions on JDF. So we just have to link to your versions and we are good to go. Okay? From there, the system will know why we import it, if it's a voucher match, cost voucher, and how does it know this, right? So in electronic invoicing or in the XMLs that we work with GoToVL, there will always be a reference to the order if there is any on the invoice layout. Okay. So if you have such a layout as this one, and here is the first time you will see the document repository working. So I just uploaded this one, an XML, and together with it, there's a PDF that is visible on screen. Okay. This kind of view can be triggered in all screens of JDWs where you have the transaction. So we make use of CAFE1, so we can link always the transaction to a PDF. this can be really handy, and our customers are really interested on this functionality. And what I was saying is that if there is any reference to an order, like this one, your order number, GoTBL will know that it must state this order, and JDAD was by importing, UMapper will know, okay, I need to do a voucher match instead of a cost voucher. Okay? It looks really simple, hopefully. Here as well, we have invoice date. This is all coming from the XML. This is no longer, no less than that. Due date will follow your supplier instructions that you have on the supplier master company. And here it's the template that UMapper used to import this record to APA. UMapper will tell and will automatically recognize the template. So we can operate with multiple versions of UBL, 2.1, 2.0, you name it. Okay? We have import date and batch date, that the ones that were processed. We can see which approver is pending the invoice. Okay, this one is not yet approved. It's pending on Herr Klassen, one of my colleagues. And you can see already what I showed you in this slide. So while it's not approved, the pay status will remain on held, pending approval, not able to be paid, or A if it was already approved. Okay? So this is the first screen you will see in APA. Every time you import an invoice, it will validate the information for you. Warnings such as duplicated invoice number are triggered in standard accounts payable, and you can count with them also in APA. And of course, we do more stuff. That's why we love so much APA. It's possible that the supplier bank account details that are shown on the PDF are sent to APA, and we cross-check if those supplier bank account details are in JD Edwards. Okay? So APA will also allow you and make you gradually to improve your master data in the system. Okay? So if I want to review these errors and fix them, I can click on the record, and this is how I can revise information on my transaction. Okay? On the header information, we have supplier number, tax ID. If there's in your country additional tax ID, we can name it. Supplier invoice, well, everything that is familiar to your standard accounts payable modules. We can, from here, link to a receipt or to do two-way match with orders to match. And then you have the detail of the invoice. You can always link it, again, to the PDF viewer. And we do abuse and create a lot of E1 pages. For instance, if whenever there's an order number, we trigger one here below that will show the detail of the order that was mentioned there. So you can easily check, okay, so I got an invoice for this amount. Oh, actually, the purchase order had such a line, could be on quantity, on amount, you name it. And you can easily cross-check if the line number that we are going to match is the one that we want. Okay? UMapper will also work with you to suggest always the most accurate line. So if you have detailed lines, it has a possibility to suggest different line numbers of the order. So this is how you would see it. There is also all kinds of information, tax subtotals to check that everything is booked correctly or before booking. As I mentioned, we can have IBAN and SWIFT codes, and we have an error regarding IBAN and SWIFT that they are not registered in our supplier bank accounts. And we developed control, we can trigger that as an error or warning, of course. But from here, we can update the supplier bank account details. It will cope with payee control. So if you have already this setting in your system, you will also have this account to be approved. Okay? This is all information coming from a single PDF. So, and we must rely on the suppliers to do so. So this will often increase the quality of your data. So here, you just start a new bank account. It's sent to your pay control approver, and you can proceed. So once you save it, the validation status is updated, and you only have a warning node, which is regarding the duplicated invoice number. Okay. From here, you just have to process it. Once processed, you will see the booking document that was generated in accounts payable. You already have some, the batch was not yet posted. We can post it if you would like. But at this moment, you can consider that, okay, it's already impacted my balance sheet. My AP position is updated. I can see it already in my accounts payable module. I do have a finance batch to be posted. So from here, we have the VAT recognition, balance sheet position updated, and once posted, the P&L eventually. From here, and only when we process, we trigger then the approval workflow. Okay. I'm just refreshing because the workflow is now enabled, and we know already there's an approver pending. Okay. I will show you in a sec how we can approve invoices. Before that, I think it was hopefully clear how the system recognizes a voucher match, but we also have other cases where we have cost vouchers. And how can we do this? In APA, again, we can determine suppliers that will be by default logged voucher ones, like this one, like Go Watch. We can use as a logged voucher, so everything will be booked as a logged voucher. Also, we can maintain accounts, and by this I mean company supplier specific accounts. Okay, I'll give you the feeling how we can maintain this. So per company and account and the supplier, we can register one or multiple accounts and assigning a default one. That's possible. And we can also relate a text to the account, a text that might be related to the invoice line description. Okay. Also related to this setup, we assign an approver, so you can set up an account approval only, or supplier account approver only, and also the tax code. We can relate and override the tax code for that account. Okay. How to maintain this setup? We can upload it here, and for some customers that have still a previous release, we can now, just by selecting one line, and once we propose an account, we can create a GL new rule. Okay, so here I can create a setup based on a transaction. So I instructed, okay, this voucher needs to be booked in this account, and by pressing this row exit, I can create more setup. Okay, is that okay? And I should have a new rule for this supplier. So we're slowly building more and more recognition every day, and this is how we are making really trustful tool. Every day will increase by fixing master data, specifying new rules. Okay. I will now switch to the approver because I want to approve this invoice for you. I need to sign out. I'm using a different user. Okay. So we can make use of watch lists to see how many invoices you have to approve, right? From the approve, there is a specific program where we see the pending invoices to be approved. Once I process the other transaction, a voucher stands here to be approved. And from here, I can check it as an approver. I can build put the screen bigger. So I have details on the invoice itself, gross amounts, and you can make use of the customized grid, of course, to make it more user-friendly. You can see the purchase order details as well, linking into to the PDF. Okay, always. Okay. So hopefully it was clear how we can do this flow in APA. Back to the slide presentation. So I just showed you the APA workbench. This is a program where you have not only set up, you can see the transactions, their current status until the pay status and even the payment date that we recently included. So we want that users in AP only have worked with one application. Now, I think many of you will have questions about approval workflow, how we trigger those. Okay. So regarding voucher match, we'll always have a related order, and that order will have a transaction originators, which we call the purchaser. At the moment, we relate not only the approval workflow, but approval lists depending on the purchaser. The purchaser will tell if we have one approver or multiple. And we can group approvers. Well, you might be familiar to these ones. This is these settings. These are standard workflow module in JD AdWords. So we reuse standard functionality again. So we can trigger variances and non-variances workflow, okay? And we can make use of the first response, so the first approver to reply will approve or not, or if we can group them. And all of these triggered based on the purchaser. So we have approval list for variances, or no variances as well. So it's up to you if you want to enable both or just one. And it could be that we can only make use of the threshold amounts. So we just want approvers from vouchers higher than €1,000 or dollars. Okay, that you can configure on the distribution list. And while on the transaction, you can also override the approval list. So by default, it will be related to the purchaser, but then you can override it as well. On the cost voucher itself, I just showed you, you can maintain this default setup. So related on the supplier specific account or multiple accounts. Or you can also make use of the cat codes related to the account to determine a specific approval. In result of this defining APA as a long-term solution, I mentioned it before, we developed Steltix APA. This is what helps us upload any XML to JD AdWords. So this is what gives us the flexibility not only to work with GoToBL, with any other OCR as a service, or any other e-invoicing file that are sent from the suppliers. Okay, this is embedded in APA. It's a low-code approach application, so it's meant for the user to map an XML to JD AdWords. This might sound scary to some of you, but once you can play around with it, it's quite amazing. So we developed this to so it's user-friendly, first of all, and easy for the user to maintain and create their own templates. Again, works with any OCR or electronic XML. You can have multiple kinds of XML in one FTP folder because the import report will recognize the template for you. There's always those signatures that are unique to the XML. So this is how we differentiate one template from another. Okay. And with this tool, we read, we translate, and we enrich the mapping to JD AdWords language, and we also fetch data in the system for you. This is fully embedded, and let me just close this line and I will change to GD address. Also, it will allow you to make any specific adjustments on the layout per supplier. So you can build supplier-specific templates. So going back to GD address, okay, I will. Oh, sorry, I think I skipped here. I'll just finalize this process. I'll approve the invoice. Now going back to my user. Okay, so in our E1 page here, we have an option to enter UMapper, but also by APA Workbench, we can check it. We have a form exit mapping. So this is UMapper, okay? This is what gives us the huge flexibility compared to our competitors. So as you can see here, we can maintain multiple layouts. Again, I mentioned in the beginning, UBL will be the standard for invoicing. In our system base, we have templates to work with UBL 2.0, 2.1, and so forth. And all can be are compatible at the same time. So we can work with all templates at the same time. The import functionality will determine which ones to use. Okay? Just how we make UMapper work. Okay. So we do mapping per header, detail, and repetitive detail. This will be how the XML is formatted. Okay. During the such an implementation, you will be quite familiar to the XML of the invoicing, if you're not so at this moment. And here is basically mapping. We are just mapping information from the XML, parent tags, IDs, into GD address company, document company or company. Okay? How do we do this? Most often on the supplier invoice, we'll be naming our company name, our company tax ID, okay? And with that, we can use one option of UMapper. So convert information from the XML to actual company number in GD address. This is one of the functionalities to convert data to GD address language. So we make use of cross-reference, okay? One other functionality in UMapper is that how can we find our supplier? Most of the cases we'll also have as well a tax ID, but the tax ID can occur so often in our, every customer maintains a master data on its way, but we want maybe to rely not only on tax ID, but to check in multiple ways. So for that, we don't map directly to the XML, but we do a composite, which is like we build, let's say, a select statement, SQL statement, to our database. Okay. So we have many ways to check our supplier number. Here you can see a sequence on your left. So this is my rule number one. Okay. First of all, check based on supplier chamber commerce ID. Okay. This is often used in the Netherlands, the KVK number. So I can check based, first of all, in this field. If it fails, then I can start other rules. If it fails, it will fetch on a mailing name, for instance. If it fails, we can also check based on IBAN. And the system will do that every time until it finds the supplier number. Okay. I would like to mention that the same supplier might be registered with different search types. Okay. So for that, we can even include more variables onto this select on our database. You see here, you might be familiar to some of these tables. So we can use not only standard tables, but custom tables as well without any development. Okay. So if you have custom tables for address book, we did this in the past. We can cope with any table that is on your database. I was saying that we can add more variables on our select on our address book, and for that we built composite key, which we can put, for instance, search type. So this is how we fetch, and we have really a high accuracy within the system. So we developed this tool that it's really a game changer. And we have users working with this, different paces, of course, but feeling more and more comfortable on adjusting layouts, especially when we are talking about supplier specific. Okay. We can also assume default values. For instance, the GL date, I want it to be booked always with today's date, so I can make use of wildcards. For some of you, it might be too technical, so I'll leave this topic for now. Okay, so this is UMapper. The document repository. You've seen the PDF across the screens we've shown you today. And like I said, the CAFE one is also available to put in the GL inquiry, supplier ledger inquiry, you can name it. So no need of having physical paper no more. Okay. So this is totally part of the API solution. So no additional charge for this. So we offer you a PDF viewer configurable by CAFE one. We can guarantee you that whenever you see document company, document number, and document type, you can link it to a CAFE one page and present the PDF for the user. The documents are stored in JD Edwards table using the Steltix technology. And well, basically we want you to get rid of paper. I think there is a short movie that just to explain what we've seen so far, that you will always have the PDF with you. In here, it's at this point is the supplier ledger inquiry, which is also quite handy, and you can have it everywhere. Okay. For the ones that don't know, APA is a subscription product. Okay. So we at the moment we are in a version 4.2.5. We are in between version 4.2 and 4.3. So this is, I presented these slides so to show you how we are being evolving and investing a lot of time and resources on APA. Okay. So back in October 2020, we stabilized the UMapper release. We offer the XML and PDF repository. We did a lot of enhancements on the points the bullet points you see here. And since then, we already released an update, which you can see with lots of added functionality. For the customer install base, we plan that we upgrade as well. So we want the customers to stay current and always have access to the latest enhancements that most of them were suggested by the customers. It could be even a bug reporting, of course, like any other product. And we want the customers to be always updated and having the latest releases. I can show you, this is like a quick view on what's coming ahead. So for May, we have this huge list. It's getting bigger and scary for me, but lots of new added functionality. And we can also anticipate that the Payable network integration, so the last step in our roadmap, will be still achieved this year. Okay. So I show again the roadmap, and so I position APA here when we start to work with GoToDL. Within a couple months, with one of our customers recently, we started integrating supplier invoices directly, which was quite successful. And so we can name that today we are coping with e-invoicing as well. So if any of your countries where you are operating, you work with e-invoicing as a standard, you can cope with that already. So we are already today in the middle step of our roadmap, and you know that throughout this year the Payable integration will be achieved. and one more step closer to total electronic integration. I think it's the biggest statement of the 4.2 is that it can separate us for any OCR third party. Okay, OCR as a service is still a reliable option because not all suppliers send invoice. So today we are in between these two steps. But the more suppliers adopt e-invoicing, you don't have then any third party at all. So more easy it is. Here, just a small reference to one other product. Steltix has a product which is called Voucher that makes use of your AIS server. And with that, we developed a small application for APA where the approvers can approve invoices on their mobile. I recorded one screen. You can see the invoice. You can approve and reject while seeing the PDF, or also just by swiping. Okay, so you can swipe on your inquiry. Whenever you approve, the record will be gone out of the list and you proceed. Okay. Minimum requirements. Some of the attendees sent me emails about this, so we can cover APA implementation in version 9.1. The tools release is quite important because, as you saw, we make a lot of use of UDOs. So we want, this is a statement because we want customers in the latest tool release as possible, always. And this is also, our minimum requirements to achieve the functionality you saw today. Pricing. So again, IPA is a software as a service, so it would be charged you on a monthly fee. On top of that, if you adopt a service for OCR, you will also have a fee for each invoice that is scanned. This can depend on the partner you opt to go forward. For the ones that come from your supplier, there's no such fee. Okay. And for all the participants today, we have a special offer. So please feel free to reach us out. I would like to do a wrap up. I hope really that you enjoyed today's session. I think we are on time. Incredible. So just before we wrap up, I would like you just to make sure that you leave today with these ideas in mind. So we offer a solution that skips any OCR implementation. That's a huge effort, and we used to have APA with the OCR. It was time demanding and demanding a lot of support. So we got rid of any of that complexity. We offer you a long-term solution. I really hope it's clear for you, and our customers already can see that. So that's quite a valid point. The flexibility is that we can cope with any document repository or any OCR scanner or any OCR as a service. The only requirement is that an XML interface. And go electronic. I think that's the message. Below, there's a few of our references. As you saw on the delivery dates of the versions, it's quite recent and it's growing fast, believe me. So from Telpa, I had the chance to get with Robin Chutanos today. She gave me some nice words to show to you today. So she's, I think, the oldest APA customer we have, and she saw really huge benefits on the latest release. So her team processes hundreds of invoices every day at Telpa, and she's quite happy, more and more user-friendly, easy to use, and they really enjoy the fact that they can, whenever a supplier calls, they just have to access APA to see what's the current situation of the supplier. So that's a huge valid point. You don't have to navigate through many applications like in the standard module. And from Valvaco, one of our most recent customers going live. So Richard Den Houden, I think that is here today with us, said that with app and GoToBL together, the processing time was increased and the accuracy as well. So once they set up the rules on cost accounts, they can see immediately the results. And especially for them, they did not have document repository in-house. So especially these days that people have to do a lot of home office, they can see the PDF or the physical document everywhere in GDM. So that was a big game changing for them. And I'm quite happy for them as well. So it's time that we see your feedback, your questions for today. So I think now Andrea will help me out.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Great presentation, Nelson. I'm Andrea from marketing at Steltix. So we have a few questions that came in during your presentation.
Yeah.
One of them, well, there's two from one person, and they are, how is the correct approval route assigned to an invoice?
So like I showed, we can have different types of assigning an approver, depending if it's a voucher match, cost voucher, or loss voucher. On the voucher match, it can be set if there was a variance against the purchase order or not, or if you want always to assign an approver. So that's, we have logistics approver, when there's variances on quantities. When it's variances on amount, we have purchase approver. And for cost vouchers, as I showed, it's related to the account itself.
Okay. And then we have another one from the same person. Is there Q&A functionality between AP employees and approvers and other GD Edwards users?
Yes. On the approval screen, we can record a message. So for instance, if I want to reject an invoice, I can put the message, please review the GL account, for instance, it's incorrect. So the user that interacts with APA can visualize this message and use the functionality of workflow inquiry to record a message back to the approver. So communication can occur. Yeah.
Okay. Another question about the approval. Can people who don't have a GD Edwards user ID approve invoices in the workflow?
That's a question that is more and more often. If there is no GD Edwards user, we have to challenge our AppShare team to make sure that they can access with a generic user to GD Edwards, preventing that you have additional user licenses. I've been told that's possible, but it's something that to address on the roadmap.
Okay. A couple of more questions for you. How long is the implementation process for APA?
We did it. There's a lot of homework from the customer side to define approval workflows, but this can be achieved within a week. We did that recently.
Okay, thank you. And the last one, someone is asking if they have already a document repository software. Is it compatible with APA?
Yes. So if you have already any software in your premises, we can link using a URL to your software. What we need to agree upon will be the unique reference to the URL, but that can be achieved, yes.
Okay, another question just came in. We have a few more minutes from Marta. Can an invoice be matched to different receptions or different purchase orders?
Yeah, you can match to multiple orders. That can be done manually in APA, or if the invoice status all those orders, yes, you can match it.
Perfect. So does anyone have any more questions? You can submit them on the Q&A section. If not, I think, do you have anything else to add, Nelson, in your presentation?
Just to reinforce that if you want, there's really a special offer. I'm not the commercial responsible, but there is an offer in place that the implementation costs are drastically reduced. So please let us know if you are interested in that.
Perfect. Well, everyone will be receiving the recording of the webinar in case you want to review it or share it with someone. And thank you very much for attending.